I'm with Tony Sargeant, which is quite extraordinary because I last met Tony Sargeant very briefly in 1967. And he came up in conversation. He had lunch with somebody. He said, "Oh, I had lunch with Tony Sargeant." I said, "What, the guy who used to race cars?" And he said, "Yes, because I used to see Tony Sargeant when I was living in England before 1967, racing cars. So I knew him. I came to Jersey in 66. I knew Tony Sargeant on television. He was famous. He was a film star before I even came here. And you were racing some quite fast cars, weren't you?"
Oh, yes.
Serious stuff.
Yes. The Lola was the most powerful.
Right.
Yeah, seven litre Chevy engine in the end.
And that still survives, that car?
No, it was actually, there's a bit of a history there. We entered it for the Can-Am series in America, and the first race, Hugh Dibley drove it at, I think it was Mossport. It took off like an aeroplane and wrote it off. And the previous year, Surtees had virtually done the same thing the previous year with a car. But at any rate, the car was written off, and as such, we didn't bring it back. And then many years later, the Norwegian gentleman got in touch with my grandson and was asking stories about the car. He said, "Well, I've had the chassis and I've had it rebuilt." So my grandson and he were emailing one another and discussing this, and my grandson said, "Well, if you ever want to sell the car again, let my grandfather know. I think he might be interested in buying it." Cut a long story short, we flew over to America and we bought it. We brought it back to Jersey. I had it for a few years. We did a sprint with it over here.
Did you really?
And then eventually I sold it at auction, H&A auction, and I think it was a Norwegian gentleman who bought it, and it's back in Norway somewhere.
How much did that car cost you originally? Because you bought it new, didn't it?
Bought it new, and it was £5,000.
£5,000
out of the Lola factory, but it had a Ford engine in.
Right. Could anybody go along to the factory and say, "I want one of your racing Lolas," and they'd sell you one?
Yeah,
just like that, just like any car factory.
No problem at all.
Really?
But the Ford engine was not very good, not very powerful.
Right.
And we were contracted to Firestone with the tyres and that, and Firestone gave me $5,000 to purchase a Chevy engine.
Really?
Which we did, yes. And then we raced the Chevy engine, and right the way through it was written off.
You better start at the beginning, because originally you lived in Jersey. I don't know if you're a Jersey person or whatever.
No. My parents moved to Jersey when I was 3 years of age.
Right.
And apart from the war years, during the occupation we were evacuated.
Right.
I come back directly after the liberation, and with my grandmother. My mother stayed on with a flat in London because my sister was going to art college.
Right.
And my father was still in the forces. So we come back over here, and then I sort of bummed about a little bit. And
so when I was collecting train numbers, you were getting interested in motor cars.
Yes, probably, yes.
Hey, so where is it? Did you get interested in the UK, or when you were back in Jersey? You were back in Jersey.
Yes, back in Jersey.
Yeah.
I was in business, and then well, as I told you before, I got involved with the go-kart circuit.
Right. But was that the first racing when you first started going to a go-kart?
That was the first thing that I...
Did that really grab you? That said, I've got to have a go at this.
It did, indeed, and I wasn't very good at it.
No.
I was too heavy for them, really.
Really?
But then I bought the 500 Cooper off of Bill Nye.
Let's have a look at it. You've got a picture of it there, the 500.
Yes.
In fact, you've got a picture of the go-kart, which is very interesting as well.
There's the photograph of
Let's see if I can get it on there. That's the go-kart.
That's the go-kart.
What are the engines? You've got two engines on that.
Two engines, they're the Norton engines.
Two Nortons, are they?
Yes. Yeah, the chassis was Peter Gatehouse, Peter Wakeham's chassis,
Right.
which
Did he have that built, or he built it himself, or?
no, he bought the chassis, I
bought
believe.
chassis, yeah.
And Tika Martini.
Yeah, Martin. See all these names from the past, which
Yeah.
are big names in racing, really.
Yeah.
Now, the other car on the next page there is
That's
the Cooper Jap, or the
500
Norton Jap.
No,
Norton Cooper. Norton, I get it right. I get it right.
no. It was a Jap engine,
That had a Jap on it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
did it really?
500.
I mean, I love the sound of a Jap engine.
Yeah.
They're such a temperamental engine, but when they're going, my experience, they're
The
fabulous.
lovely smell of the castor oil.
And if you're driving behind it, you get covered in this. If you're on it sprays everywhere. What was that like to drive?
It was fun.
Was it?
It was fun. And then
So you bought that? That was already here, or did that come?
already in Jersey. It belonged to Bill Knight. I bought it.
That was Bill Knight.
Yes.
Again, Bill Knight was a big name because he was involved in all sorts of
He was
motor
yes,
racing
he
things.
was the initial guy that started the go-kart circuit with Lord Louth.
Oh Lord! Again, another guy who used to race cars, and he had some serious cars.
Oh
His
yes,
Jaguars,
serious
D-type
cars.
stuff, and all that. Yeah, he had some fabulous cars.
And then I bought into the go-kart circuit, and then my second one was a Cooper Formula Junior with a Ford engine in. That again is on the beach.
On the beach. What was the effect of racing on the beach? Did you just have
It
to?
was great fun.
Did you have to take them apart afterwards? to get all
Oh yes,
the-
I mean it
did
was, sideways into corners. It was marvellous.
Yeah, it looks terrific fun.
Yeah. And then I had the Cooper Bobtail, which is still in Jersey.
Which is still here, we think,
It is,
isn't it?
yes.
Yeah.
It's a gentleman called Alan Dix.
Alan Dixie, he certainly had it. I haven't spoken to him for years, but he certainly had it hanging up in his rafters.
I believe he's got it in a box and that.
Has he?
Yeah. But he won't sell it.
He won't sell it.
No.
Because all these are historic racing cars
yes.
now, aren't they? They're all sought after now.
And this is the Bobtail Cooper.
Oh, so, right.
And the car
Oh,
was...
it's got a road number on it. It's a road vehicle.
Oh yes, when I bought it,
Right.
I bought it off of a gentleman called Peter Gatehouse.
The jeweller.
Well, he was a car dealer prior to that.
Was he?
Yes.
Was he?
Yes. And I bought the car off of him. That J37 was on it, and it's now on my grandson's car.
Is it 37?
Yes, we've still got it
Well,
all
you
those
could-
years.
I mean, you know how silly prices are for motor car numbers. I mean,
Well,
you know.
now the other car there is a Cooper Alta.
Cooper Alta.
Yes, it was a Formula One that was built for Sterling Moss to drive at the Nuremberg Ring, and something happened, and it ran on meth, and the Aluto boys, the Jersey family, brought it over to Jersey, and for a number of years, it was at the go-kart circuit,
Really?
and people were having their photographs taken in it.
Really?
Yeah. And then I bought the car off of Francis Aluto, and I shipped it across to Dorking, had it in the garage, and with the intention of restoring it and putting it into a racing, historic racing. And eventually I said to Mac Dagon, I said, "This is silly, you know." I said, "I'm paying £1 a week for this garage."
Found a week. Yeah.
£1 a week, you know. So he said, "Well, let's sell it." Well, I sold it. I don't know what I got for it. It was not a lot of money. But Francis Aluto I met, well, from time to time now, but he told me that it was in a museum in Scotland and it was very, very valuable.
Well, it's a very narrow-looking car on there. I don't know whether it is.
One of the,
Very upright and narrow-looking.
yes, the real up,
Yeah, it looks like
sit
it.
up and beg
It is,
car.
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's right. It's like one of the dinky toys.
Now this is a Bully Bay. That's me in the Merlin, and that is a gentleman called Sandra Testori.
Mr. Testori. Yeah,
Italian.
he was an interesting guy.
Yes, he was. Lovely man.
Let me take a picture of that because that's rather nice. That little we spent many an hour trying to tease out of him because he still had that car when I first met him.
Really? Huh?
Yeah, Testori. Yeah, he was an interesting guy.
These were some of the stuff that I've won.
Trophies.
Yeah, these are all in Jersey.
Right. You know, it's Mansell's got a little museum, or where he's got. It's a shame they don't make a proper little museum of racing, motor racing.
Yeah.
Because in this island, there's been some fabulous racing. There's some fabulous cars, some really clever engineers.
Yeah. That was my first circuit car, which was the Merlin.
That's the Merlin Mark 6.
Yeah.
Is that the Mark 6?
Yeah. I did quite well with that.
How fast would that go for a novice like me? How fast would that go?
No idea.
No.
Never what's the name in it? You know, you
No
just
speedo.
No. You always went by the revs. You know. It was quite fast, and that was the engine.
That's the engine, right? Well, that's quite a busy looking engine
Yeah.
even for those days, isn't
So-
it? That's 65, 64.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you bought
Lotus twin cam.
twin game. Where did you buy that?
No, I bought that with the car.
Yeah, where did you buy the whole car? Where?
That would have been about 63, I think.
63, right.
63, 64, it might have been 60.
But was that new or was that a second hand
No,
one?
that was new.
That was new.
Yes, new.
Again, with that little firm, Merlin's, you just order a car and they'd send you one order there.
Yes, indeed, yeah.
Did they?
And that's Mac Daghorn and Mac Daghorn, myself, and a gentleman called oh dear, my memory now. Can't remember his name now.
Where is it? Do you know?
That was at probably Brands Hatch or something like that.
Because that's another thing. Looking at the list of cars, races you did, you travelled about a fair bit. This must have been an expensive activity. Or did you sleep on somebody's floor wherever you went?
No.
Sleeping in the garage?
No. We managed it somehow.
Did you?
Yes.
It's remarkable. Because I noticed one year, I think I counted 20 races. That was 66. 20 races you went into.
Oh.
So that's all around, but that's the ones that are listed on the.
I can't remember.
Well, that's, presumably it's a limited season. Presumably it wasn't an all year round season.
No.
So that's cramming them in, 20
Well,
races.
yes. I didn't realise it was as many as that.
Well, that's what they've got listed.
Oh.
And there was one entry for a Jag, E-type Jag. Did you ever drive a DT?
No.
I thought that was a bit out of character for you.
No. I never. No. I can remember when I was competing. Brian Redmer
Right.
drove an E-type for Red Rose Motors.
Right. Yeah. Did you have? I mean, that's your Merlin up there, isn't it?
No, that's the Lola.
That's the Lola. Let's get a little. I mean, how can you see over the bonnet? That's what I did. Don't suppose you had to worry too much about what was going on.
No, this is the Lola after the accident in Canada.
Well, I'm surprised that's a write-off. I always thought that was an easy rebuild. That today they'd be after that like a pack of wolves after that remains, wouldn't they?
Wow.
They rebuilt a car from a badge. They got the badge. They
well,
rebuilt.
exactly. This is what the Norwegian gentleman did.
Did he?
He had the plate, and as such, he was allowed to
that's right.
reconstruct it. That's it on a circuit.
I mean, it's a fabulous car, isn't it?
And this is it when I bought it back from America in my garage here.
Is that black or blue?
It's blue. It was a dark blue because the Norwegian gentleman couldn't tell what colour it was when we raced it. So he thought it was blue, and he had it.
Hey. I bet that made a fabulous sound, didn't it?
Oh, Fabulous.
Can you, when you're sitting there in the cockpit, can you actually hear the sound? I mean, obviously you can, but when you're standing behind the car, obviously you get the sound, don't you?
Oh, you still get the sound of the car,
But
yeah.
in there, sitting next to the engine, I mean, I've never driven one of these cars. Is it really? I mean, is it really noisy? Really ear damaging noisy?
Yeah, it is noisy, but I think you're taking more notice of what's going on rather than the sound.
Trying to stay on the track.
Yeah. I mean, when you sit there on the start line and you're blipping, like, you can hear the noise there. And then, of course, as soon as the flag goes, and
I mean, that's a serious racing car.
Oh, yes.
And obviously you had to pass scrutiny and all that stuff. It had to be up to spec.
oh yes, indeed, yeah.
Yeah. When was the last time you went on a racetrack? To see them, just to observe them?
The last time was over here at the beach meeting. My grandson was driving.
Oh, he drives, all right.
Yeah, he was driving a buggy, a range buggy,
All right.
and fantastic speed and the cornering
Really?
that they could do was unbelievable. Nothing could live with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Is he still doing? Is he still playing with those?
No, he's more interested in rallying now. He's got he's got a couple of Lancia Deltas. He's got a Mitsubishi rally car.
The financing of it, because obviously I don't know what you don't have to tell me how you obviously won the pools or something. You were able to spend all that time in England and buy cars. Was it a very expensive activity? How much, for example, to enter an average race? What did you have to pay?
Oh, it's very little.
Was it?
Very little. Very
Really?
little. It was the expense of flying over.
Right,
We had a transporter.
right.
And the transporter, we had it was painted, and there was a sunshine
Right.
on the side of it, which Jersey Tourism helped and
Did they?
sponsored. Yes,
Did they?
yes, they gave us a little bit of money towards that, and it was known around the circuits as the Jersey Sunshine van.
Right. Did you get much sponsorship? Was that a thing in those days?
No, not really. No. The reason that with the Lola that I would put Hugh Dibley in
Right.
the seat, we were getting more money, start money.
Oh, you got start
Yeah.
money.
Oh yes, we got start money. Not a lot, but they paid more money for Hugh Dibley behind the wheel than me.
Because he had a few wins, or he
Yes,
had a
yes,
bit of a
yes.
record. Yeah.
Yeah, he with my car, he won the support race at the British Grand Prix at Brands Hatch
Brands Hatch.
in 64, 63 or 64. It was the Guards International.
Yeah.
He won the support race there.
I noticed on the list again. I'm arguing. It referred to 1,000 mile. You didn't ever do a 1,000-mile race, did you?
No.
No. That's why I thought there must be a misprint. That can't be.
No,
right.
no, wait a minute. I did a race with there's myself and Mac Daghorn in a Sunbeam Alpine.
I saw the Alpine list. and I thought
saw
that
the
was a bit
Alpine.
out of character.
Yeah, that was over 2 days. It could have been a very long one. We were leading the class in actual fact, and I stuffed it into some hoarding, and that was the end of it. But no, that was quite a long one.
Yeah, because to keep your concentration, presumably different drivers take it in stages. I don't know what. Maybe you did.
Yeah.
Maybe you did 1,000 miles.
The car itself belonged to Paddy Smith,
Oh, I don't know.
who was a local gentleman,
Oh,
a
right.
builder, quite a well-known builder over here. Yeah.
Oh, because you used to do a bit of building, because that's how I first met
Yes.
you. You were doing a bit
Yes,
of building.
oh yes.
So you had to do real work as well. Now that today, Grand Prix drivers. They keep super fit, so we're told. Was that an issue then? Did you have to pass medicals?
Oh yes, you had
Did
to have a medical. You had to, and I had to have a competition license, and
Right.
I had in those days I had a full international, which enabled me to. I could have jumped into a Formula One if you like.
Could you?
Never had the chance, but that was the sort of the top license in those days. Now the super license, and I believe I'm probably wrong, but I believe that it costs something like about £7,000
Right.
for a super license, which is very, very hard to obtain.
But I mean, these are serious cars. That car you got there, the Lola. I mean, that is a fast machine. Could you literally? Did you have to pass any sort of competence test?
No. I mean, to get your competition license, you had to do a number of races,
Right.
And then you got a full license, and
Right.
after the full license, you just entered the races. They accepted you or they didn't accept you.
Really?
I mean, I've in the past I competed twice with sports cars with Jimmy Clark.
Really? Really?
He was driving one of the races was a Felday 4-wheel drive that a gentleman called Peter MacDagon and Peter Westbury. And Peter Westbury had been a British hill climb champion.
Right.
And they built this 4-wheel drive Felday. And Jimmy Clark drove that, never finished. I think I won my class in that particular race. And another time, Lotus built a sports car, and they entered that, and he drove that.
And obviously, it's a big scene. Did you get to know all these people like Lotus? You know the people at Lotus. You got to know all these people, did you?
Well, you knew the other drivers, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. It is fascinating to participate at that level.
Yeah, but you never really socialised with them in as much as I was there when the races were over. I'd have to fly back because I was running a business here.
Right.
Yeah, we're friends with a few of them. Mac and I remember many years ago, we were invited to a cocktail party at Sterling Moss's
Oh, really?
home. But other than that, you know.
Of course, you had people like Sid Logan here. Of course, he was injured before your time. I
He
think.
was, yes. I can remember.
He used to be a scrutineer, and obviously
Yeah,
with his sight
yeah.
impairment, he was very difficult. But I remember speaking to him, an interesting guy. But he raced at a fairly high level until
Oh,
he
there.
had
He raced in the international
right.
road race over here.
That's right. When you raced cars here, Sand, who was your mechanic to look after them then? Who did all that for you?
Anybody and everybody.
Really?
Yeah. The main job after the Sand race meeting would be to clean it.
What is it?
Have to bring it back and wash it down. And we used to use damp start.
Right.
It was a spray.
Right.
So once we'd washed it all down, we'd spray everything with damp start
Right.
for the next meeting. And of course, the next meeting it was all taken off and we started again. But there was a young boy that sort of virtually adopted us. I can't think of his name now. But he used to come and help and
Of course,
wash.
you had lunch the other day with Trevor. Of course, his dad used to build bodyworks for cars. That's what his father was.
I never knew his father.
And he built this extraordinary thing. The car club here, the racing car club. They had a request from some lady in America. Does anybody know about this car? And that very day, Trevor had found a photograph of the car which his father had put the bodywork on. It was
Really?
Yeah, it was just so ridiculous. Of course, that was when the time when they used to put armchairs on for the seats.
Well, I can remember. What was his name? David Watts.
What?
David Watts come down to the beach, and he'd built this car. It was basically that. It was just the seat
Right.
and the engine in the front, and he had it towed down to the beach at the 5 Mile Road, and he sat in it, started it.
Yes.
He had 5 reverses, but nothing else. Then put the gearbox back to front. Or something.
No,
Yeah.
no.
So he couldn't compete in. But
You're going to turn the seat round.
that was the type of thing that.
There was, I mean, did you ever see the Legale special? So there were several, but he made a car of a very high quality. I don't know
Who was that?
Legale. He was
Yes.
I mean, that was a
Yes. Well, he the last car that he built was a beautiful car.
yeah.
And I don't know how true it is, but the story I was told that he sold it to somebody in South Africa,
Yeah.
and it was shipped over to South Africa.
Right.
And in the shipping, they dampened down all the springs and everything
Exactly.
like that. And whether the story is true or not, but it's alleged that the gentleman that had bought it took it out of the box, took it out without doing it into the what's name and wrote it off.
Exactly. That's exactly what. That's
Now, whether
exactly
it's-
what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was a beautiful car,
Oh, it was indeed.
very professionally done.
Yeah.
I mean, whoever designed it knew what they were doing, didn't they?
Yeah. But Mr. Legale was quite a fast driver as
Was
well.
he?
Yeah. Yeah. He was very good.
How did you? Because if you've got a car like that, it would do track racing. But would it do other racing? The Lola? Could you do a hill climb with a Lola? No.
No, I did hill climbs with the Merlin, but,
Right.
and I did hill climbs with the.
Because the amazing thing about them, I presume the Merlin was very light. I mean, there isn't a lot to it, is there, car? And I just wonder how you kept, because now obviously cars have got all spoilers and it's all very scientifically worked. It didn't seem to be the case then. And I don't know how you kept them. I don't know how you kept them on the track, because they must have wanted to fly, mustn't they?
Well, no, not really.
No?
No. The Merlin was an extremely nice car to drive.
Was it?
Yeah, and it was fast, and it. Yeah, I mean, all you had was the engine in the back with
Right.
Hewlin gearbox
Right.
and rev counter, and that was it.
That was it, was it?
Yeah.
It sounds simple, but you've got to keep the damn thing on the road. That's the problem.
Yeah. And in the meetings, we'd arrive at a meeting, and the only thing we'd have to change really was the gears and the Hewlin box. You just took the plate off of the back,
Right.
and you just change and
Oh, was it? Oh, was
yeah,
it?
and Mac Dagon would come with me. But
Where could you get your practice? Obviously, if you were doing something with your car, where could you? If you were here, the car was in England most of the time. Who used to practice run it? Did you have a place you could do it? Or you couldn't very well take it out on the road, could you?
well, no. I'd fly over. I mean, Mac looked after in those days. Looked after
Did he?
the cars because he was based in Dorking.
Oh, right, I get
And
you.
he was
Oh, right.
he was actually building the Felday, and he was working for Peter Westbury. But I'd fly over, pick me up, and we'd hitch up the trailer on the back of the transporter, and off we'd go.
Because Bill Knight is the last I heard of him. He was working in Wiltshire, so he was building Grand Prix racing wheels. I think he was pretty high spec. Pretty high spec. I don't know.
No idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
Do you miss it all?
Yes, a little bit, but it's so long ago now, I've virtually forgotten about it.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to speak to you. I met you all those years ago, and now I have finally confirmed you are the same bloke I used to watch on telly. Did you ever get paid anything for being on the telly?
No.
Nothing?
No.
It was good. I mean, that was another thing, because it was on every Saturday. It was usually on.
We were sort of contracted to Firestone, so
Right.
they supplied all the tyres,
Yeah,
tyres free, and then we'd get bonuses
right.
for wins. I'd get probably like double bonus. If Hugh Dibley was in the car, and he won, he'd probably get 3 or 4 bonuses, double bonuses, you know. So basically, when Hugh Dibley was in the car, we were getting more start money.
Where was he based? Because the accident was in Canada or something.
No, Hugh Dibley was British Airways, BOC captain.
Right. Oh, really?
Yeah. When the car went over to America, he flew it over in the transporter.
Excess luggage.
Yeah. Well, no. When I say a transporter, you know the
I know.
the 747.
Right. How amazing.
Yeah. And I remember my wife and I flew over to America to race, and we flew into New York, and from New York we flew to San Francisco, and he was up front. And
incredible.
yeah. And as we're going into to land at San Francisco, I was invited up, and I sat behind the captain in the left-hand seat.
How times have changed then.
Yeah. At that time he was, I think they were described as a Czech captain. He was checking other pilots out and things.
Oh,
like
right.
that. Yeah. But
What was the biggest race he won? Because just to put it in perspective, what was...
oh, I don't know. You know, after my what's name with the Lola, I mean, he went on. He drove quite a number of cars. If I'm not mistaken, BOC entered a car for him as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I better stop me now. Stop me, otherwise we won't stop. Otherwise, that's
Right.
the trouble.
Okay, that's fine.
That's fabulous. It's so good to speak to you.
Yeah, lovely.